Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm here with the review to the latest episode of The Flash, Season 4, Episode 11, which was called The Elongated Night Rises. And this was a fun episode. This episode is definitely a little bit more reminiscent of the episodes that we saw earlier in the season that had more of a comedic tone to them, a little bit more of a lighthearted tone to it. And I don't mind. I really don't mind, considering how heavy the last episode was, and the episode of Christmas, or that ended before the hiatus. Both of those episodes had so much heavy content with the idea of Barry being framed and, of course, the trial. So I'm actually okay with the fact that they went with a much kind of lighter, brighter, funnier kind of episode in this particular one. And it kind of fits because from the second that Ralph's come on the scene, he's always been very kind of jovial and comical and just, you know, a little bit larger than life than the rest of the characters. So since this episode was focused on him, I'm okay with the theme overall kind of staying at that level. But I'd say it was okay. The first half definitely, for me, was a little bit like, okay, maybe we're being a little too goofy about some of the way. But I mean, when you have, you know, again, a character like Ralph, and then you get a villain in like the Trickster, who's extremely camp, you're gonna get a really hammy episode. Like, I feel like you just can't get away from that, but that's okay. Again, I'm okay with these things kind of being in the vein of your 1960s Batman every so often, because it's just fun. The Flash is supposed to be fun, and this episode was just that. It was fun. But let's get into some of the highlights of the episode that really stood out for me. Barry, first of all, looks so cute with that beard. Like, I really wish the show would let him rock his facial hair more often, just because it looks nice. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a girl moment. You know, I notice these things, and Grant is fine. Okay, he's a good-looking man, and I just feel like I know that Barry's whole persona is very clean-cut and clean-shaven, but I'm just saying, you know, the man is like, how old is Grant? Just had a birthday. I think he's like 27 now. He's a grown-ass man. It'd be nice if he could look a little more like his age once in a while, but it's okay. I'm just saying, I appreciate the facial hair. Thank you, show, for giving him another reason to take a shaving break. But back to the way I brought that up, not just the gush. Barry can't fight. This has been a problem for a while now. Like, they brought it out very briefly in season 2 with the crossover with Barry, the Flash and Arrow. That Arrow was like, dude, you can run really fast and that's super cool, but you need to know how to fight. Like, you actually need to know how to handle things when you can't always run. Now, Barry doesn't really have to. Let's be real. I get it. He's a speedster. He doesn't ever have to be in the way of a punch. But in this particular case, because he's trying to keep his identity under wraps, Barry can't afford to he can't use his speed too much. I mean, even though there's no way for the human eye to pick it up, there are cameras. And I'm glad that so far Barry's clearly very aware that the cameras are there and that they will show discrepancies if he's moving too quickly. But you get what I'm saying. Barry is going to have to be super careful and really, really, really selective about when and how he uses his powers. And I thought it was really funny at the beginning when he was just literally just twitching in his cell, like, you know, he looked like a crack addict. Like, I need to do something, man. I need to use a speed force, man. It makes me wonder if he really can go an extended amount of time without using it. Like, if it's something that would build up in him and kind of just cause him to just like come apart or something, right? I kind of on a tangent there. He can't fight. Barry needs to learn like literal combat. And I'm surprised that after being a vigilante now for a couple of years, he really doesn't know more about basic combat. And we've seen this in several fights that we've seen Barry in. It's very apparent that he does not have really just good basic combat skills. And I'm not saying he needs to be as good as, say, Arrow. Like, I'm not saying he needs to be a martial artist. We all know that's going to take years of training, no matter how fast he can move. But I just feel like this is something that Barry really should learn to do. Just general, like, how do I actually fight somebody if I need to defend myself? But anyways, with him being in prison, it just kind of brought to my mind again that Barry can't fight. He really should learn. That'd be a good life skill for somebody who's in the business of getting in other people's business. Just a little kind of West Allen-y. Well, I'm going to talk about West Allen in a moment. I'll leave that gush for later on. So for those of you who don't like me gushing can just tune out at that point. But have you noticed that every episode, pretty much I think in the latter half of this season, that Iris has been wearing the Flash red? I'm just saying, I see it, you know, red skirt or red shirt or red belt, red lips. Like, homegirl is representing her man at all times, and I am here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Her outfits always slay. Like, seriously, I don't know who the stylist is on The Flash, but they deserve a raise. They deserve all the accolades. They deserve all the awards. Please just give whoever these people are their things, because they make her look so good every week. Every week, that, and not just her, all the women on this show look amazing, but because we see Iris's outfits a lot more, whew, that girl looks great. She looks beautiful. But yes, I do notice that she's wearing the Flash red all the time, and I know it's not an accident, so I just thought that was really cute and a kind of a subtle but beautiful way of kind of showing the solidarity that Iris is feeling right now with her man not being there and having to run this whole show without him. Another, I guess, the highlight of this episode was obviously Ralph having to figure out how to manage being a vigilante now, taking on this persona, the work that it takes to be a lifesaver now. It's different than anything he's ever had to do before. He's, you know, it was brought out very heavily in the first episode when we met him, and then when he got his powers, that Ralph is very selfish by nature. He's very, very self-serving. He's very self-centered, and so it's very outside of his wheelhouse to take care of people. But I mean, no, wait, let me take that back. I guess he was a police officer. He did want to become a cop, so obviously he does care about people, but you know, he's not really the selfless type. That's probably what I should say, is that he does care about people, but he's not the selfless type. So that's something that he's having to adjust to, because Team Flash is very much about the selflessness. So having him kind of come into how he's going to use his abilities and how he's going to work in this team, but also develop the same value set that this team has, which is if you're going to be part of Team Flash, you got to be prepared to go the extra mile and risk yourself, as we saw last week with Barry risking getting chemically burned, you know, to save everybody, and potentially getting, you know, irreversible radiation poisoning. He was willing to do that because it meant the safety of others. And so Ralph got a dose of that this week, and we saw it. Like, he saw that he was willing to get himself basically potentially permanently burned by covering Cisco and Caitlin in that last minute move. So he's learned his lesson, and he's clearly got it in him to be a little bit selfless, and I think it'll be something that will hopefully build up as the seasons go on. But also, we got to discover a limitation that he has. We weren't really sure what was his kryptonite, right? He's clearly bulletproof because his skin can't be broken. He's not vulnerable to explosions because, again, his skin is bonded and can't move. So he thought he was invincible. He thought, well, you know, no weapon can pierce me, and no, you know, nothing can pierce my skin. But he never thought about something actually melting through his skin. And so as soon as I saw the acid, I was like, actually, that probably can hurt Ralph. And so his kryptonite, which, I mean, I appreciate the jab at Superman, but come on now. But yes, finding out what Ralph's actual weakness was cool to know, because every superhero has an Achilles heel. Every single one. Superman has his kryptonite, which is where that reference came from, of course. You know, Batman's just a human. You know, he can be shot, he can go, you know, he can have all those things happen to him. You know, everyone does. All the meta-based or superhuman vigilantes out there have something that makes them vulnerable. And in Ralph's case, clearly his skin can be deteriorated. And while we're in that vein of Ralph kind of discovering his weaknesses and dealing with this whole vigilante life, it was really nice to see Barry get to be on the other side of the advice for once. You know, almost the first three seasons, really, it was always kind of a thing where Barry would be stuck or having a hard time, and then, you know, Joe, Cisco, Harry, one of the Harrys, or Iris would always end up giving Barry the old pep talk, or his dad, telling him that he can do it and all those other things. So it was really nice for once to have Barry be the one to be like, let me draw from my sage experience of being the Flash for a walloping 4 years and let you know what I've learned. It's nice though, because I mean, pep talks are just always going to be a part of the show, but it is nice for once for Barry not to be the one who has to receive it. We got a name of the guy in the prison, the Warden Wolf. So we got his name. Him and Joe seem to know each other. I guess they would, being a police officer and a warden. I still feel like something's going on with Warden Wolf. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm hoping he's a good guy. I'm hoping this is just like we're just seeing him because, you know, obviously Henry was in that prison for what, 15, 16 years. So maybe he has already kind of feels like a sort of affection towards Barry. But like I said, the fact that we saw him with, I really should have looked up the hacker guy's name since last time, but that guy, the first meta that was put into prison, and now seeing him again, I just feel like Wolf's gonna come into play somehow. I just haven't figured out how yet, but at least we have his name, Warden Wolf. If he was in the comic books, guys, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe he's got an alter ego that's gonna come out later. I just wanted to also kind of bring out something that I love about this show, which is how meta these writers are. How meta they are. Like, I've said since I think episode 2 or 3 of this season that I could feel that this show had a totally different vibe. Like, it was still very much in the Flash vein, but the writing was much different in a lot of ways. And one of the things I've noticed is that these writers are very meta about the show. The lines that they say, the things they poke fun at are very meta, and I'm loving it. I love it so much because the show, you have to suspend so much belief with the Flash anyways, especially after seeing Black Lightning last week and seeing how literal that show is in a lot of ways. The Flash is up in the clouds compared to that in Arrow. You know what I mean? So I love that these writers are taking these opportunities where they can to take the show and bring it back to being a little on the meta side and saying things like this episode talking about the fact that, you know, Ralph was monologuing, right? Like, I love the fact that they're just like, yeah, beautiful speech, so heartwarming, great. And he was like, yeah, I practiced. Like, things like that I love because it just lets the show's letting us know that they know that we know that this is a monologue and this would never really happen in real life. You know what I mean? So I love when the show does things like this. So that's just a little comment to the writing staff. I love this. I love this new turn that you've taken where the show is concerned, and I think you can continue as far as I'm concerned. You have my seal of approval. And finally, the West Allen feels. This is going to be the gushing portion of the review, so for those of y'all who may not be West Allen fans or don't really like to hear that kind of stuff, I'm just giving you a warning right now. I'm about to be sappy as hell, so if you're not about it, I understand, and I will see you next week, okay? But on to the gushing. You've been warned. I seriously can't, like, guys, I can't take how these two are bringing the feels right now, how they're just, this is why I love these two together. It's not just the fact that they're like a couple on screen, because I've seen tons of on-screen couples that do nothing for me. Like, I'm just like, okay, yeah, they're together, great. But, you know, the chemistry that Grant and Candace have as an acting duo, it spills over so effortlessly into their characters, and it works so much for making it believable. And they have these teeny little moments like this. Oh my God. I mean, this is more heart-wrenching than the push-pull that we had in the first couple seasons where Barry would just be painfully looking at Iris and wishing that she would, you know, see him the way that he saw her, and then Iris conversely battling with her feelings. Like, that was all kind of harsh. But this, them sitting there with this piece of glass between them that doesn't even have to be between them because Barry has the ability to go through it anytime he wants. It's just, oh, my heart. And it's being written so beautifully. I love that the show isn't going too overboard with the sappiness, but it's just enough. These two are newlyweds. They've barely been married a few weeks, and here they're separated again indefinitely. And they've got to talk to each other through glass for only a few minutes a day. And if Iris unfortunately has to deal with things with Team Flash or other things, she can't even make her visit sometimes. And Barry's just kind of trapped here knowing that his wife and his family and his life's going on somewhere without him. Like, it's just, it was so sad and beautiful, and it got me this week. It really got me, the way they're both clearly trying to be strong for each other, but it's hard. It's wearing on them. So anyways, it was beautiful. Candace and Grant brought it in those scenes. I love them. I cannot wait. I can't wait till they can be reunited. I want it now. I'm greedy like that. Okay, gushing over. And finally, the last point. Hello, Dawn Allen is back again. I didn't think we saw the last of her at the wedding, but she's back and she's writing in the same language we saw Barry writing when he came out of the Speed Force. I don't know what that language is. Guys, if you know what it is, please let me know in the comments as well, because I think something's happened. And I'm wondering if Barry, when he was in the Speed Force, maybe popped out sometime in the future. Or maybe he told something to Dawn in one of his timelines and that's why she's back. Like, I'm very curious as to why Dawn is back. why she's hanging out. It looks like she's clearly following or stalking, you know, the Barry and her mother and the Team Flash, and why she's choosing to stay uninvolved. I mean, I understand the whole time effect thing, that she obviously doesn't want to probably give up who she is at this point, but it can't be easy for her to watch Barry go to jail, right? You know, watch your dad go to jail or something you know he didn't do, but I'm just curious, why is she back? What is she observing? Why is she by herself? Where's her brother? Why does she know this language? Can she read what Barry wrote on the wall? Can she translate? Is she going to translate? Do you see where I'm going with this? There's a lot of questions that are just churning in here with the whole Dawn Allen situation. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see more of that sooner than later. I know that we still have quite a few episodes before the finale, but I like answers. I need answers, people, and I need them now. So I like this episode. If I was to give it a rating, I'd say it was maybe a B. It wasn't one of my favorite ever, but I do like it. It was still fun, and it was still the things that I love about The Flash. So what did you guys think of this episode? Do you think that it was a little too hokey, or do you kind of like the fact that we changed up the pacing and the feel of the episode a little bit? And also, what do you think is going on with Dawn? What are your theories on why she's come back in time and why she's stalking Team Flash? Please leave your comments below. I like to get into these conspiracy theories with y'all. And if you like this video, guys, please go ahead and click that like button. If you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time.